Hi, and today I'm joined on Business Spotlight by Will Mitchell, who is the Managing Director of 4C Product Design and Engineering based in Glasgow. Will, welcome to Business Spotlight.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. So, Will, tell us a bit about what you and the team do there in Glasgow. You know, product design and engineering. What is that all about?
So I suppose the best way to probably describe us is we're specialists in process. So we have our own way of approaching projects. And, you know, we have a sort of unique process which takes us through certain stages and everything like that and manages projects. We're generalists when it comes to which or industry, if you like. So we've worked in oil and gas, we've worked in agriculture, we've worked in lots of different industries, but you can apply that process across those industries.
Okay. And so what do you actually do? You know, if you were to say, right, what do you actually provide? What service do you provide? Give us some examples.
So a lot of what we do is, so people would come to us with an opportunity or an idea or a product that they want to develop. And as a sort of traditional consultancy model, we would look at that, we would help them manage it. We've got engineers, product designers, we've got mechatronics, we've got model making. So we've got a broad range of skills to be able to take in that challenge, work it up and work with the client to develop it. I think one of the key things that we do is we like to understand where that product came from. So where did the idea come from? Make sure that their homework's been done. And that's not in a sort of condescending way. It's more just we need to understand where that came from so that we are doing the best we can to make sure it's successful. So we tend to work as a big team. So in this room behind me, we've got tables, chairs, whiteboards, all the area you need to be able to flesh out an idea, work out where we are, what we're doing. And we're also very hands-on. We've got a big prototyping workshop. So any ideas we have, we're very quick to get them in your hands just to see if that's if that works okay. So we're very much innovation partners. You know, we are agile. We work with the team. We'll help accelerate that process and keep things moving.
So it's not industry specific per se, and it's, you know, if I've got an idea that I want to bring to life, I want to bring a product to life, I would come to you with my idea, and you'd help then with fleshing that out. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's interesting as well for us, but we all absolutely love the variety. So working with startups, working with individuals, working with large companies, and we have worked with some of the biggest companies or engineering companies in the world. So it's that sort of excitement of working on those different levels in so many different industries that kind of keeps us going and actually keeps things fresh. You know, we have lots of ideas we see happen in certain industries that can be transferred across to other industries. It's non-competitive, but it's just really useful information.
So bring it to life for us. Give us some examples of a couple of the projects that you've worked on so we can get an idea of the kind of things that, or the variety of the work that you've maybe done so far.
Cool. So I suppose from a consultancy point of view, we were brought in as sort of innovation facilitators for a big safety at sea company called Survitec. Now they've got engineers across the world. They've actually got locations across the world, and they're a huge company. But for them, a lot of what they do is sort of incremental development. So they'll take a product and they'll say, oh, we could improve it by doing this. They'll get their engineers in, and generally what happens is it's wrapped up in technology that they understand and they know. So when we come in, we say, well, can you not look a little bit more laterally? So how about we try this or we try that? And we kind of challenge their engineers and help sort of develop a little bit. It's a very common expression and a little bit cliched, but to think outside the box is kind of the best way to describe it.
So it's almost like you're not in their bubble, so you can see things from a different perspective. Absolutely,
absolutely. And we can bring in technologies that they might not have thought of, or we could bring in a concept that they might not have thought of, and they will go away and investigate that technology. So we're working very much in partnership. We're not trying to sort of take jobs away from companies and say, look, we'll take that. Don't you worry yourself about it. We're trying to work in conjunction with them. So that's kind of one area of the sort of expertise that we bring. Another project that we did, now this was really interesting because when you work as a consultant, you tend to come in at a certain point in a project, work with that company, develop something, and then kind of exit back out again and let them go on with it. And so for a lot of consultancies, that's their operating, that's just the way they work. For us, we also wanted to develop our own product and see that through to success in the market. And to that end, we actually developed our own product. So that's helped us obviously learn a lot more about how to develop a product from the very, very conceptual end right through to actually shipping and boxing and talking to customers about it.
And so what was the product you developed for yourselves?
The product, this is not something I thought I would do as when I was young, thinking, yeah, I need to get into this market. It's actually lamb castration is the market, but the opportunity came about because we were working with vets anyway on another project. And the idea was that there needed to be a sort of more humane solution to castration and tail docking, which is currently a practice which uses a very, very tight restrictive ring to effectively go on the appendage and cut off the nerves and all that kind of stuff. So it's an excruciating pain for the animal for a short period of time, but enough to be noticeable.
Yeah.
So we saw that as an opportunity to come in and maybe throw design at the problem and say, what could we do? So quickly we came to the conclusion that we needed to add an anaesthetic, same sort of thing that the dentists use. So it was like numbs the area. And we developed a tool that combined the application of the rubber ring with the anaesthetic. And the sort of working title for the product was Numb Nuts, which it just came out when we were talking about it. We saw it as a working title. We didn't think it would become the product name, but we had no choice. It had to. So I've actually got the product here. So that's what we ended up with, a nicely, beautifully developed product. Most people just, when you bring it out or you talk about it, people just say, could you put that away, please? So it's one of those tools. But as I say, the experience that we gained, we had to raise the money, we had to develop the product, we had to test it, we had to take it to Australia. Australia were brilliant. They helped fund the project. But the caveat there was that we had to launch over there. So that was quite scary. Other side of the world's biggest market. So you're straight in there up to your neck.
And is that why Australia got involved? Because it's the world's biggest market? How did that happen?
It was... Okay, we struggled a bit to try and raise the money in the UK. We didn't really get the support that we'd hoped we would get. And we really wanted to launch in the UK because it's the closest market. We could keep real controls over it. But the Australians, they adopted the concept really quickly and they had the mechanism to support it. So we were quickly excited by that, and we were able to continue to invest in it. We actually invested quite heavily in it ourselves, and the product's now been trading for about 3 years. So all going well. It's just one of those things that you really get exposed to the challenges of bringing a new product to market when you do it yourself. So we're quite proud of that, being able to sort of not just talk the talk, but actually walk the walk, so to speak. Yeah,
and it must be nice you can demonstrate to clients and potential clients that you really know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Just so people can get a gauge of what you do then. So from lamb castration, you mentioned Cervitec. So was that a kind of life raft? What was the actual product there that you ended up becoming involved in?
So we've actually worked on a few projects with them. One of the biggest and most ambitious was a product which is now called Sea Haven, and that was a system that went onto cruise ships that basically takes away all the hard lifeboats. Right. And for the cruise ship operators, this is a great product because if they don't have those big lifeboats on the side, they can open up that real estate to cabins and all sorts of things. So they were really incentivized to adopt this technology. And the challenges were that it's colossal. I mean, it takes 1,500 people at a time, and it's motorized and it's inflatable. So there's a huge number of challenges there, and packs away into a box. So we kind of helped develop the concept behind this, and they spent best part of 10 years developing it. And for a relatively small intervention on our part, they've created a huge product for them, and I think they had successful sea trials, and I think they're going through the final stages of development before they can actually install. So that was a big opportunity for them. It really pushed the boundaries of the technology that they were developing, and it's been a bit of an award winner as well. They've created a lot of buzz around it. So yes, the Survitec Sea Haven is certainly something worth looking at.
And for anyone watching, I'd recommend going onto your website, because there's actually a little video of you guys testing out, and it's like in cardboard, isn't it?
Yes. Well, so the other projects that we've worked on have been more the sort of smaller scale life rafts. So we tried to develop concepts in that. So again, just working with them, pushing boundaries a little bit. And yeah, we had to build a life raft and test it. And the only place we could test it was the canal down the road from us, which was in early February, was frozen over. So one of the boys had to get suited up for that. But yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, Glasgow early February, it's not going to be warm, is it?
Not great. No, not great.
No. So how on earth did you get into all this, Will?
I blame my father, actually. Actually, there's a string of engineers in my family, but I worked with my dad for a few years. We had a little engineering consultancy building machines, and what I loved about it was, again, it was the variety of what we were doing at the time. I studied product design, so this was a real baptism into the nuts and bolts and oil engineering. So we were building machines, but we found a really good rapport between the functional sort of engineering side and the more sort of user-friendly, design side, where you're considering the people using the product and all that. So it's a brilliant marriage. And that we developed that wee business for a while. Then he went off to teach up at the art school, actually. And then that little business merged with 4C, who had established in 2002. And so we just lots of like-minded people, but again, a real variety of skill sets. And the other thing that was a big driver for us was we were a small business, still are a small business based in Scotland. And in Scotland, there isn't really any kind of major dominating industry. There's lots of little businesses, lots of sort of variety in industry. So that became a very natural thing for us to do, is just get involved in all these different industries. It kind of protects the business a little bit as well, because if one sector is having a particularly hard time, you can kind of shift focus onto another.
Yeah. And so what have been the biggest challenges, apart from obviously COVID, which I'm sure, you had a lot of bumps in the road there, but what have been some of the things that have maybe been tough in your journey in setting up this business and growing the business?
Two things spring to mind. The first one being when you do develop your own product, it's exhausting, and it really it's all hands on deck. You've really got to work hard. So there was probably a sort of danger that the consultancy would fall over if we all just focused on developing that product. And if that product hadn't worked, then we would have lost everything. That's how kind of how risky it can be. So we did maintain a focus on the consultancy, but the timing of that was really interesting, because when we effectively launched Numbnuts, we were sort of getting ready to get real focus back into the consultancy, and that's when COVID hit. So one of the best sort of tools we have for actually selling 4C is to get people here and see the business, see what we do, and see the workshop and see how we make things. And we couldn't get people here. People, they couldn't travel, they couldn't. So you're in the realms of this sort of virtual, please, you need to come and see it, but I know you can't, so I'll just try and describe it as best I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah, okay. And what do you see the industry doing in the next 5 years? What are the changes in your industry that you think you'll need to adapt to or change?
Well, there has been a lot of changes already. I think with the virtual side of things, I mean, a lot of Teams meetings. Teams is brilliant. I mean, or Zoom or just whatever format. I mean, it's great because you can have lots of catch-up meetings. You don't necessarily need to get together all the time. So we're already pretty well adapted to that. I think for me anyway, and certainly what I've experienced over the last, this is coming on to 25, I think probably about 25 years I've been in this industry. What I see is people kind of jumping in with an idea and trying to develop it without really taking a step back to understand whether that is necessary, it's the right route, it's all of that kind of stuff. So I think in the interests of sustainability, in the interests of being a responsible company, we really need to do our homework about what it is we're developing and why and how we're going to make it. There's a shocking stat, which is in the startup side of things. It was 97% of product-based startups fail. And there's really good reasons for that. It's a terrible statistic, and it's something that we need to work on as designers and engineers to help improve. And we know how to improve that. We've got to bring companies in and work with them to understand why they're doing something so this doesn't fall over.
Yeah.
So it's a CB Insights report, I think, that covered that. And starting with the wrong product, running out of funding, all of these reasons, are why things fall over. So we have to be better at managing the early stages of projects to make sure that doesn't happen.
And is that something you can advise on, or do you help potential clients with in terms of how to get funding and where to go and stuff?
Absolutely. And I think another change which we can see happening, which is a good change, is a better connected. I mean, Scotland has always been an innovative country, and it's lost its way over the years. There's a real temptation to go back to the glory days when we invented everything, but that's real ancient history, and we've moved on. So, but what I can see happening is a better connected country where government is talking to academia, and academia is talking to consultancies and industry, and all of these sort of big blocks are actually coming together, and that's the sort of thing that I want to really help with, is to wire that system up so that it's going in the right direction and people are talking to the right people at the right time. Yep.
Okay. And so what does success look like for you guys in the next 2 or 3 years? What direction of travel are you going in?
That's a good question. I think some form of so there's a life of a consultancy. The way it kind of goes is when you start out, customer is king. You take what jobs you can get and you do that job. They'll say, we need this product. No problem, we'll design that product. As a consultancy matures, if a consultancy matures, because they can fall over at that early stage, it's very easy to get overloaded and for a consultancy to fall over. As you kind of mature, you get to a point where you question the brief and you work more closely with a client, and you sort of systematically work out why you're being asked to do something and what you're better doing or what more work needs done. And so there's still there's more of a rapport. And I suppose for me, a real sign of success will be when a company just comes to us and says, help, not here's what we want you to do. It's like, you guys are the experts at this. You do this, you tell us what to do. Because we're the ones that have got all of that experience. We've worked across so many different industries. I've seen it done 1,000 times. I've seen it done really well. I've seen it done really badly. And that is very valuable experience. So for me, it's that, phone rings, help us.
Okay. Sounds fascinating. Honestly, some of the stuff I've looked at on your website, it's the variety of it is just amazing with what you do. And it just feels like it must be a fun and creative environment to be in.
It is. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's the idea that, you know, you just don't really know what you're going to be working on, but it's also a brilliant sort of dipstick into the health of a country, because you know what industries are doing well, you know where the inquiries are coming from. You know, space is a big sector for Scotland right now, and that's dead exciting. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day. In the same day, I was talking to a company that were developing a wave energy device that's essentially bolted to the seabed. So it's right down, as far down as you can go. And in the afternoon, we were talking to a company called Spire, who builds satellites. And I sort of thought, there's a real range there, right? We've gone from the seabed to space, and we've worked in all these different industries. So I just love that. I thought that's, for me, was a brilliant illustration of the range of what we do.
Yeah, totally. Your business sounds fascinating. So, you know, good luck to you. If you were to give advice to anyone starting out in business, what would you give? What advice would you give?
There's a temptation to be selfish or not selfish, probably sort of secretive, and you just need to speak to people. You know, companies like ours will always have time for companies or startups or even large-scale businesses to talk about what their challenges are. Yeah. So I think you've got to get out there. You've actually got to speak to companies. You've got to speak to as many people as you can to try and validate an idea. A lot of people don't really want to know if an idea is bad, so they'll pursue it and then go under a cloak of darkness.
A silo, yeah.
Exactly. And really, you just need to get out there and speak to people.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's been wonderful talking to you. I've loved hearing about your business. Thanks for joining us today on Business Spotlight, Will.
No problem. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.